Well, hi everybody. This is Don Smith. For those of you that don't know me, I am a full-time landscape instructor, photographer. I've been a professional photographer my entire life. Started out in the sports end of things. I've shot for Sports Illustrated for about 6-7 years. Was team photographer with the San Jose Sharks for 28 years. But all along, ever since high school, I loved photographing landscape. And about 13 years ago, ran into a gentleman who's become a good friend and colleague, Gary Hart, actually in Yosemite, where this picture is at. And Gary asked me if I wanted to start teaching some workshops with him. And as they say, the rest is history. I now teach workshops all over the world. In fact, I'll be leaving in a couple of days for New Zealand with Gary. And we'll be there for the entire month of June. So this is going to be my only video I'm going to be able to get out this month, just simply because I'm going to be away teaching workshops. We're going to do 2 over there on the South Island of New Zealand, which is going to be their winter time. We're very excited about it. Today, I want to teach you guys how to create these cool looking handwritten photo watermarks. And then I'm going to teach you how to apply them in Photoshop, right in action, and then they will be able to work regardless of the size photo that you want to create, whether you want to go out onto the web, email, put it up on your website, whatever. We're going to teach you how to do that all in one concise little video here. So just a quick little backstory on this image. I captured this last week. I had another gentleman I do a lot of work with, Ron Madra. He was a longtime Sports Illustrated staff photographer, 26 plus years, had over 70 covers with the magazine. Ron is just a very, very talented photographer. He and his lovely he and his lovely wife, MB, came out to visit us in California. Neither one of them had been to Yosemite. So last week I drove up, we met with Gary Hart, and we just had a fantastic day running around the valley, and Glacier Point even opened up for us. And they had a great time getting to see Yosemite. This is the famous Valley View location in Yosemite Valley. This was our last stop of the evening, actually, before we left. And that waterfall up there is a seasonal waterfall called Ribbon Fall. It's only there when there's snow melt up on top of El Cap. Eventually that will dry up. It's not a season-long fall. But all the falls in the valley were really, really booming when we were in there. And then obviously that's El Capitan. For those of you that don't know this scene, this is, I believe, the location where Alex Honnold in the movie Free Solo started to come up. I don't know the route he took from up in there, but that's just crazy to think that somebody would climb that with no ropes, but he did it under 4 hours even. This is the iconic Merced River that runs throughout the length of Yosemite Valley. And we had a couple of trees that had actually come down, and I'm actually standing on a big log. I wanted to get a picture looking back up the Merced River that encompassed Ribbon Fall and El Cap. And I captured this with my Sony A7R III, a Sony 24-105 lens, and a Singh-Ray Vari-N-Trio. That's VARI-N-Trio. And what that is a neutral density filter where you can dial in between 4 to 8 stops of ND. And you have a warming polarizer attached to it. Very cool filter. So that's the backstory on how this image was created. But that's not what the video is going to be about. The video is going to be about how we created this logo. So first thing we got to do is go out onto the web, and we're going to grab a couple of type fonts to help you create this image. Okay, so let's get out onto the web. There's a lot of different websites that you can go to download fonts. And the one I'm going to direct you to is www.dafont.com. Now, this is where you can get some type and you can download it, but I really highly encourage you to donate. These are free, but I want, I have a passion for people that create this stuff, and we really should be donating them to them if we're going to use some of these type fonts. So I'm going to show you the two that I used this weekend to create this handwritten photo logo. And the way I did it, I'm on their homepage. I'm going to first come up under script here, and I'm going to go to handwritten. And there was one, you can see there's a lot of different ones that you can scroll down. There's actually pages of all different ones. And just to keep this kind of simple, I really kind of like this one here. No, this one right here, Silly Willin, I believe is the name of it. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. So when you click on it, you actually get a sample, but here's what's cool. You can go right in here to the custom preview, and I'm just going to type my name in here and hit return. And it actually gives you a preview of how it's going to look. And I thought, that's kind of cool. I've got terrible handwriting. You can try to create this in Photoshop with a Wacom tablet, but my handwriting's so bad that I wanted to try to find something else. So there's what it would look like. If you follow the cursor over here, you can click the download button. But again, I would encourage you to hit the donate to author. Go ahead and download it. I just followed the utility tool, and it went ahead and you double click on it on a Mac, and it will just take you right on through and install it into Photoshop. The other one I want to go to, let's go back here. One more click. And I want to find something because I want to put photography under my name. So I'm going to come under basic to a sans serif. And the one I really liked that I thought would work well is this Caviar Dreams. And so I'm just going to type in photography, hit return. And yeah, that one right on top would work. You see you get different variations. And again, I went ahead and downloaded it. They do have directions on this site if you are on different versions of Mac or on PC. A lot of you I know are on PC. And they'll walk you right through how to install these things. But on a Mac, it's simple, double click, install. Can't be any easier. All right, now that we have the type saved, let's go jump into Photoshop and I'll show you how to create a logo. Okay, so now we're back into Photoshop. I'm in Adobe Photoshop CC 2019, the latest version if you're on the Creative Cloud. And we're gonna go and just create a new document. And I'm gonna click over here because I already created one this weekend. And the way I did it, I'm just gonna type in here, Don's watermark, because I've got my other one I created this weekend titled something else, and I don't want to get it confused. I created it at 2000 pixels, both the width and the height. I'm going to click the orientation to, well, we'll just leave it standard there. 72 DPI, RGB, 8-bit, that's all fine. White, that's all by default, and I'm going to click create. Okay, so now I've got the box that comes up. It's a background layer, it's white, but here's how we're going to get around it because we want a transparent layer to put this type on. So you're going to come on over here to your layers palette. Now, if that's not open, come up under Windows and just make sure there's a check mark in front of layers. I'm going to come down to the bottom. This looks like a little folded sheet of paper here next to the trash can. And when I click on that, that's going to add a new transparent layer. Okay, next thing is we're going to hit T for type tool right there. And I am going to just click anywhere inside this box here. Sorry about that. Let's bring this back up. And I'm just going to go ahead and type my name. Now, you can't see it because we have this background layer activated. So we're going to go ahead and turn the eyeball off. And boy, there you go. I can type well, huh? Okay. So now I've just got my name typed. I'm going to highlight it. And here's the next thing we need to do. We're going to come under Window, and you got to bring up your characters box. Okay. by default, because I've been playing around with this weekend, you have a lot of different defaults you can go into. You can see 72 is the most I can go to. So I'm going to put in a custom value. And I found out that 240 points is going to be about right. And then I got to come over here, right up in top here. And I want to go and find the, what did we call it? I believe it was Silly Willin'. And let's scroll down. There it is. It's already in there. Okay. Click on the box. And now I'm going to click my move tool. And I'm just going to kind of center that. You can see where the center lines come up. And now that's fine. So the next step is, oh, by the way, before we go any further, you can see that kind of separated more than I wanted to. So let's go back here to the type tool. And I'm going to show you why that happened. We're going to highlight that. If you come up under character, you want to set this to 0 and hit return. And now the name comes up the way I wanted it to. Okay, now we have to add in the word photography. So we are going to come over. We're going to create another transparent layer, T for type tool. And I am just going to type in, leaving it at Silly Willin', we'll change it later. I'm going to type in photography. All right, I'm going to highlight it. And this time I want to come up and find my Caviar Dreams, which is right there. And I'm going to click over here onto the layer. All right, you can see the photography got really big. Well, that's because it's at 240 points. I'm going to change this down to about 140 points and hit return. Now it's gotten a lot smaller, but here's what I want to do. I want to come over here, and this is going to be my letter spacing. And I'm going to try about 100. I want to get this spaced to about the width of my name. And I'm going to click the move tool again, V to activate the move tool, because I want to get this guy kind of centered up under my name, right about in there. And I'm going to try, let's go to 200 and see what it does. Perfect. Perfect. That's just about what I want. Okay, so that's how you go about creating the logo or creating your handwritten name, and then I put in the photography part of it. Now, the next step is we have to save this. So I'm going to Command click on both layers here. I'm going to come up to File, and I'm just going to simply put Save As. And you can see that I'm going to come over here to my desktop. I already have a folder listed Don Smith's watermarks, and I created one actually in black type and one in white type. I would go ahead and I would click Save. And by the way, before we leave here, you may be wondering, how do I create black type? Well, let's just click on my name again, click the type tool, highlight my name, and then you're going to come up here where the little color picker is, and you're going to come down to black and hit OK, and then you could save a black version. But I actually wanted this saved in white, so you can see you can save it in any color you want, really, and we have it saved. So that's how you create the logo. Now, in the next part, I'm going to show you how to go about writing an action where you can place it in your image and save it and record this action. So when you size this picture, no matter what size you want to do it, your logo, your watermark, should size automatically for you. Okay, for the final step now, it's time to take our newly created watermark and apply it to an image and record an action that we can save it out and apply to any image of any lesser size than we had chosen. And that's key. You want to take your big sized image to create this action, because typically we're going to size down to go out to the web and possibly to go out to email. So if your action palette is not open, simply come up here under Windows and put a check mark by Actions. And you can see I've already created a folder named Watermark. If you don't have a folder, come down here on the bottom of the action palette and you create a new set, and that's where you would do it. You would type in your whatever you want to name your folders, Watermark. I've already done it. And you can see that I've already created a action that places this watermark. But to show you how to create a new action, what you're going to do is click on this little sheet of paper which says Create New Action. And we'll just name it Don's Test Watermark. I don't want to get it confused with what I already have in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and click the record button. And from this point forward, any step that I'm making is being recorded into an action. So let's go out and show you how to place this image. You're going to come up under File, Place Embedded. I already had a folder created on my desktop called 2019 Don's Watermarks. Here's where my white watermark was created. You can see my black one in here. And then I have different ones here that I actually ordered from a company online. But I'm going to do the one I just showed you how to create. And I'm going to click Place. Now it, by default, will come up in the center of the picture. And this is obviously going to be too big. So we're just going to kind of visually size it down. I think somewhere right around in there is going to look good. I just held the Option key and drug down. And by the way, if you mess this part up or you don't think you've gotten it quite right for your picture, you can always come back and redo it. And you can see over here, it placed it on its own layer. So come up on top of the toolbar here and just click the checkbook or the check mark to commit it. Now, this is a real critical step here, so don't skip this part. Command or Control A to select the image, and then type the V key or come up on top of your tool palette to get the Move tool. And you can see that these little icons up on top have now activated. And if I click this one, this is going to align my watermark to the right side of my photo, and if I click here, it's going to place it on the bottom of my photo. And then I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deactivate. Now, you're saying, Don, that's up really tight, which I agree, but we are just going to start tapping the left arrow key to move it off the side and the right arrow key to get it up into where I think, I may want to position this watermark. And then I'm going to come over to the bottom of my action palette and I'm going to hit the Stop Recording button. And now I've got it recorded. Okay, as I said earlier, I had already recorded this one over the weekend, so I'm just going to take mine out and trash it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this layer and we're going to go through and see if this works now. So this is the one I created this weekend. I am going to go ahead and just hit the play button. And there's my watermark. Now, two things I did not record in the action that I could have recorded, and that's simply the opacity. So I can take that down if I wanted to a little bit. I can always type the V tool and move this guy around. Usually I'll use the arrow keys. It works a little bit better. And we can move it up and in, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna trash this one. Now, let's say we're gonna size this image to the web. I used the TK Action Palette, but you could come up under Image and go to Image Size, and you can size it down that way. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this. I like saving out to the web at 1500 pixels for a horizontal. So this just makes it all one-stop shopping. This is a shout out to Tony Kuiper. If you guys have not yet experimented with the TK Action Palette, you ought to really give it a shot. And there are video packages that Sean Bagshaw does that records, walks you through step by step. This has a lot to do with luminosity masking, but Tony has a lot of other really cool things in here, including this. web reduction mode where he puts in some sharpening steps. And now let's see if that logo that I created this weekend works for that. So I'm going to just simply highlight Don's horizontal white watermark, and I'm going to hit the little play icon, and there it is. Comes in perfectly sized right where I want it. Okay, this will also work for a vertical picture. So let's go out, and I'm just going to go out to my photos here. These are the ones I've already processed. Let me find one that I did on Patagonia. Let's just grab a vertical image here. Let's see, this one will probably work. This is Mount Fitzroy. That was kind of a cool morning. Hey, by the way, we have a lot of, here's a shameless plug, but we still have openings for our 2020 Patagonia this upcoming March. I'm going to be teaching once again with Ron Madra. Really excited. So go to my website, click on the workshop link, and all the information's there. You can always send me an email also if you need more information. Usually if I go out to the web on a vertical, I'm sizing at 800 pixels. So I just typed in 800 here, and I'm going to click vertical. And then we'll go back to our action palette. I've already got it highlighted Don's horizontal, but let's see if this works for a vertical. I'm going to click the play button, and there it is. And I can just use the arrow keys, and I can move that around just into position. And again, if I want to change the opacity, I can do that. Okay, so really that's how simple it is to create your own cool looking handwritten watermark. I keep calling it a logo, but it really is a watermark. And how to go ahead and write an action and apply it every time you want to go out to the web. I would just now go here, and a couple of different ways I can flatten that. I can come up under layer and flatten image. There's a keystroke command, Command or Control Shift E. That will do it. I save it out as a JPEG, usually not full res. I usually save it out as a size 10. And out on the web it goes. So I have separate versions of my TIFFs and my save for web. And also, I want to come back, one cool thing. When you go out to the web, you should be saving in sRGB mode. Right there, Tony allows you to do that in one click. And I haven't figured out yet how to apply this action of my watermark, but I'll get that figured out. Maybe we can teach you that in another video. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this and you learned a lot. As I said, that's going to be my only video up for June, but I will be back the entire month of July, and we'll have a bunch of new images from beautiful New Zealand. And so until next time, this is Don Smith. You take care.